Okay, so it is time to deal with this big pile of poop. That's up next. Hello everyone, this is Dwayne with Edge of Nowhere Farm, and we're coming to you today. It is June 2020. So here we are, we're on the farm, we've got a lot of good stuff going on. We do have livestock here on the farm. That would be our egg-laying chickens. Now we have them split up. We have our old crew, our old flock of layers that we brought from the old farm here in the coop and run, and then we have the new chickens in chicken tractors. So now when the egg layers are in their coop and run, we have to deal with their poop. When they're in the tractors, obviously that's going down on the pasture. But this is one of our primary ways to fertilize our fruit trees. So now obviously you can see we've got quite the pile. We do use straw on the ground in the coop area. That helps us to just kind of make this start to kind of compost down when it does get wet. But for the most part, this is dry chicken poop, which is really what we use in order to fertilize a lot of our fruit trees. So now obviously we have a pretty good flock now. It's going to get larger. So the reality is we're gonna have to deal with more of this. And so because of that, I wanna make sure that we can get it into a bin that I can also utilize our brand new best friend and heavy lifter here on the farm, and that would be our tractor. So we're gonna be basically putting together a very, very simple compost bin today out of concrete block that we have left over from our garden bed installation, so that we can essentially start piling this up in one area. So let's go ahead and look at the area that we're gonna be working in today. Okay, so now we're not gonna go far. One of the things that we're trying to design into this farm is we want to make this as easy as possible to get tasks accomplished. So we're trying to design it so that it's very efficient. Because we're over here in the coop and run area, which is about 100 feet or so from the house, we want to make sure that as we're moving compost and things like that, we're working in this area that we're coming to every day and keeping things fairly close. So we have the coop and run area here. You can see the pile that we were just talking about there. And you can see we already have a very, very small compost pile that we had as just kind of a piecemeal, throw together quickly kind of deal. So we've got not much in the way of chickens or kitchen scraps, because those are what our chickens do. They break that down for us. This is predominantly wood chips, coffee grounds, and eggshells. So not really exactly what we want as far as compost, although it will make a good compost. But what we need to do is we need to have a place for where the majority of our fertilizer is actually going to come from, at least with manure. So what we're going to do is we're going to break this down, and what we're going to do is we're going to replace it with a much larger concrete composting bin that will allow us to house all of that chicken manure. So what I need to do first is I need to get our heavy lifter out and utilize one of our attachments to get some bricks over here on this side of the farm. Okay, so you can see I need a lot more work on that tractor. Definitely not professional when it comes to that. Using the pallet forks is a little different. So either way, we've got the bricks right over here, got the tractor there, but now what we need to do is we need to break this down. We're gonna throw all of this into a wheelbarrow so we can get all this broken down, and I can flatten this area back here that we're gonna go ahead and get this composting bin built in. Okay, so we got that done. I've got these smaller bricks here. I don't know for sure what we're going to use them for, but we'll hang on to them. We use those on the old property, so we'll find something to do with them. So now what we need to do is we need to figure out exactly where we're going to be putting this compost bin. So now I am going to be using the tractor and the tractor bucket in order to pick up and turn, if we wind up turning this compost, and be able to turn it with the tractor. I don't want to have to go into this with a wheelbarrow and a shovel again. So we know that we need to have it about 7 feet wide, which will give me enough space, especially being a rookie with that tractor, enough space to get into there and scoop up some of this manure as we go to fertilize all of our trees. So I know I need to have at least 7 feet of space, and then we're going to have it a few feet deep. So what I'm looking at as far as spacing, we have our mulberry hedge that's here, and Lori is right on top of one of our irrigation spigots. So I know that I'm going to have wood chips out to about here, so we'll wood chip this entire area here. So I want to make sure that my compost bin is basically in front of this area. So I'm going to do that. Second thing is that stake that you see there in the ground, that is actually the very end of our irrigation line that runs to our citrus trees and waters our mulberries here. So I do know that I also want to have that accessible to me so that I can get into that extended if I need to quite easily, or if I need to do any repairs, I can find out where the end of the line is. So I do know I want to make sure it's on this side of that stake and probably in front of where I'm at here. Again, doesn't need to be perfect, but we're not going to have much in the way of weeds here with the wood chips, and I'm going to have to mow weeds right there. So I want to try to make sure that I don't have a whole lot of tight corners that I can't get the mower into when I do need to mow. Either way, if Lori scans that way, what I'm going to do, we've got the bricks there. You saw me shoddily load those and bring them over. So I'm going to go and lift those up with the tractor. No need to move more than we need to. Bring it over, and we're going to start basically fiddling around with this bed and see what it looks like in the end. Okay, so like that, we're done. You can see a whole lot of dust and sweat out here right now. It's a little warm, so we're gonna call it a day, but I think we got this done. So we did have to re-angle it. I realized pretty quickly that I needed to be able to easily get the tractor loader in here so that I can scoop, or if I'm going to turn any type of compost, I can actually get into that quite easily from here. So we rearranged just a little bit. And then we also decided to add a smaller compost bin here. We do compost coffee grounds and eggshells. I think I'd mentioned that. We'll use those along with some wood chips, and we'll utilize this actually in order to fertilize our potted trees that don't have a lot of the calcium in the soil that our natural soil does. So we're going to have a separate compost pile here, a smaller one for those things that we don't give the chickens, and then of course that nice big area for the chicken manure. So overall, I think this is going to be a good way for us to set up a few compost bins around the property, because in the end, this one is actually going to wind up being fertilizer. So essentially what we have is a fertilizer bin for creating our own fertilizer here on the farm in Arizona. So just want to thank you for joining us today. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. Questions or comments, leave those in the comments section down below. Instagram and Facebook, we post content there you won't see here on the YouTube channel. And our Amazon shop, I'll leave a link down in the description. That's a free, painless way to help support the channel. If you start with that link, it doesn't matter what you buy, you help to support us here. So just want to thank you for joining us today and remind you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere, so can you.